Want to welcome everybody this evening, our members, our employees. I know we have a lot of nonprofits here tonight. Appreciate what you're doing and you being here. A little bit of housekeeping. We're recording the meeting. There will be a chance to ask questions as we get to the end. We've built in lots of time for that. And just to do a couple introductions real quick, I'd like the board of directors to stand up and let's acknowledge them. I'd also like my senior leadership team to stand up if you would. And Catherine Walker, if you would continue standing. So I was standing over here a minute ago, and I had a serious look on my face, and she does one of these things, I get a little bit of a smile. It did work. Kind of a special occasion for us tonight. Catherine has had just an amazing service with the co-op. She actually started on the board. How many years were you on the board? Almost 8 years. And then she made the mistake of actually coming to work and joining the senior leadership team. And she's just been an incredible counselor and advisor to me, and I know the entire team and to the board. And Catherine's retiring, and we've been celebrating that for a couple of days. So I want to thank you for your service. It's been so much appreciated. I'm going to depart from the script. My team loves it when I do this. Catherine is just such a passionate advocate for the co-op. And when I joined the co-op 2.5 years ago, she made me her personal project. And I read the laws from the 1800s, where it was founded in England, and we just had these nice theoretical conversations. But she won me. She won my heart over, and today I'm both so thankful and I think have a much deeper and more profound appreciation of what it means to be a co-op. And it wasn't meant to be talked about tonight, but if you'll notice the logo at the top of the slide here, we went back and pulled one of our heritage logos. And the one that really has co-op in it, that's encouraging. Is that a phone? Okay. Everybody's phone is going off. So we went back to a heritage logo that really incorporated the co-op in it, and we've got an incredibly positive response to that. So it's very exciting. Pleased to announce, I think when you think about what it means to have a healthy co-op, it really is about a community of people that are passionate about a life lived outside. And I'm so pleased to announce that this year we've got over 6 million members that have really participated and been an active member of the co-op this last year, setting a new record for us. I want to do something provocative if we start the annual meeting this time, something a little different. I want to put the idea out there about what is the ability of a passionate community, in this instance, the co-op, to power really big ideas. Big ideas matter. This is a picture of myself, one of our board members, and one of the guys on the team in Yosemite. And we were there, and this is one of those years that's really the power of a big idea is so self-evident. We're celebrating the 100-year anniversary of our national park system. 100 years ago, a small group of men and women had the idea and the passion for setting aside public lands for future generations. We all benefit from that in such an enormous way. It was such a privilege to be in this park, and we were actually there to watch Nature Bridge. It's a nonprofit, and they did the noble mission of taking 8th graders. If there's anything harder than an 8th grader, I don't know what it is. Taking 8th graders and introducing them to the outdoors. I walked away from that day watching a group of 8th graders, especially 8th grade guys. They're so scary. And I watched the power of awe. I watched them experience nature in a way that really touched their soul. They called it the spider cave, which I wasn't real thrilled about, but we crawled into this dark hole where you couldn't see, and you really had to trust the 8th grader in front of you that you would get out. So I had to learn a little faith as well, but the power of big ideas and the transformative effect of them is really amazing. We had the ability at REI to do something special, to convene thought leaders and convene people in great conversations. And as we celebrate the National Park System, I've been thinking about what about the next 100 years? So we brought together 8 thought leaders, and I want to share this video of a little bit of that conversation.
In 50 years, we're going to have something on order of 9 billion people. To kind of meet the needs, it's going to require 2.5 times more stuff than the world is producing today. 40% of the world's already used to make food and natural resources. So we've got this really challenging problem where there might be a quarter of the world where we have decisions still to make about how are we going to meet the needs of people and make sure that nature doesn't become a complete minority stake on the planet.
We put conservation over access, and there's this theory that by connecting with the outdoors, people are going to become conservationists, but we have too many barriers to get people outdoors.
I think that tension between urban and rural, or kind of man-made and natural, is a really healthy one. And I think that there are amazing opportunities to bring nature into cities and even into buildings.
We can create these kind of urban trail networks. Some cities are working on them. Being able to breathe air like this and to be able to get from point A to point B in the city, not having to rely on a car, not having to rely on even mass transit, would be an amazing experience.
Basically, the relationship that I have today with the product is physical. I think there's no doubt that companies that make outdoor equipment, there's no doubt that companies that make apparel, there's no doubt that companies that make anything in an industry over the next century broaden from having physical aspects to having digital to having biological. How do I experience an adventure of the outdoors and the indoors in a much more visceral, rich, sensual way?
I just want to challenge everybody, when you think about moving into the future and all the technology that we create, how are we going to make sure that we're creating this community with everyone so that all the dialogue, all the discussion is being had, and that we understand all of our interest in what it is that we're trying to protect.
I think that some of the questions that we should all be asking more about technology is who controls and who benefits from that technology, and so few people ask that, especially not in the context of building businesses. And I think that there's an opportunity for small entrants to make a big impact, but you have to do that with others.
I have found it very invigorating, very thought-provoking, pushes me to a different space, pushes you to create a venue like this and try to learn from it and understand what it means. And I think the best for-profit companies understand that the next generation, it has to be more than just money.
What the research is showing is that the human habitat has always and should always include nature. That's like from cradle to grave. So actually what we are all experiencing is the lack of how we should live, not how do we get it in small doses. You should not notice nature. It's like water or air. It's part of your life.
Is what we're working on big enough? Worth it? Then let's work together. Leaders have a responsibility. You have a responsibility clearly to 6 million members, right? As a co-op member, I guess what I would be asking for is I want REI to get more vocal. Stand up on a number of things and represent me. Know me well enough to represent me on issues that really matter.
I want REI's help to be serious about changing the things that are wrong. And I want them to be intentional about creating the hope that there is another 100 years and systematic in achieving that.
I really believe the stakes are high, and I think the co-op has a unique opportunity to be an incredibly powerful force for good in this conversation. I'm so fortunate to have the partnership and the support of an amazing board, which really represents our members as we interact with them. And I would like to introduce our chairman of the board, Cheryl Scott, who's is our current board of the chair. She's been on REI's board for, I think, 11 years, and she's been the vice chair of the board. She's been the chair of the nominating governance committee and the executive committee. She's a senior advisor at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and has served as the CEO of Group Health Cooperative. Cheryl.
Wow, that's something else, huh? So my job is to tell you a little bit about our board and also a little bit about our election, and then finally end with a couple of personal reflections after 11 years on the board. I was elected to the board when I was 5 years old, so that would help explain some of that. It is obviously a privilege to be the chair of the board. REI's board, who you met this evening, is a group of highly qualified, thoughtful, values-driven business humans who care so deeply about the co-op and care so deeply about our environment and nature. They provide guidance to REI and to our leadership, and we represent the long-term interest of our members. Remember, we're not a shareholder organization. We're accountable to only one body, and that is to you, our members. And our board takes that actually incredibly seriously. And I would tell you that there's not a meeting that does not go by where we don't talk about the membership. So we take it quite seriously. And if we don't, Catherine will kill us. So that's the other thing that we can worry about. Our directors are independent. Of course, you elect us, but we also are not allowed to be employees of the co-op. And we cannot have any business relationship, any sort of self-dealing associated with the co-op. We cannot serve more than 12 years. On average, we serve about 9. I think that period of time helps to ensure some continuity, but also turnover, right? We'll talk a little bit about that later. Our CEO, Jerry, is a voting member of our board. We think that's quite important, that he gets to lean in not as just our advisor, but as an accountable person to you, our membership. And then ultimately we care a lot about the kinds of talent and skills that you elect to the board. You know, diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences, diverse contexts in one's life, and we work very, very hard to do that. We care in terms of our work on your behalf. It's a pretty typical board, right? It cares about the strategy of the organization. It is the holder of the values of the organization. It worries a lot about performance, budgets, evaluating and reviewing and partnering with our CEO, and figuring out how best to distribute our profits at the end of each year. So it's a great group, and every year you elect members to the board, and I would say this year is no exception. So let me talk a little bit. For 2016, we had 4 members of our board up for re-election. And I'm happy to announce that all 4 nominees were re-elected to 3-year terms, and let me share a bit about each one of them just in a second. You know, I would also want you to know, last year we were really disappointed. We really failed ourselves. We were not happy with the level of turnout we had, and we went back to the drawing boards and we asked ourselves why. And thanks to the good people of the co-op and the nominating and governance committee chaired by John Hamlin, we're pleased to announce that this year's vote is 4 times greater than last year. And I think we can even do better than that. So let me tell you a little about the 4 members. First, John Hamlin. John is a former chair of the board. He's been on the board for 9 years and has served currently as our chair of our nominating governance committee. He has worked in technology and he's an investor, and the guy is a crazy outdoors guy, backpacking, skier, mountaineer, cyclist, triathlete, but most of all, John is just an incredible father, so we're lucky to have him on the board. Next person, Steve Hooper. Steve has been on the board for the last 3 years and currently serves as our vice chair of the board. And he has served as the CEO of AT&T Wireless, also led Teledisc, NextLink, and he loves introducing people to the outdoors. And particularly, he loves the STP. And never compete against Steve Hooper on a bike. The next person is Bert Quintana. Bert has been a board member for the last 4 years, serves on our Audit and Finance Committee and on our Compensation Committee. He has extraordinary executive experience in customer-facing businesses, retail services, technology, and he loves kayaking, paddle boarding, all things water, particularly in his beloved Florida. And then last but not least is Tony Truesdale. Tony has been a board member for the last 3 years and serves as our chair of our comp committee. And he has had, again, an incredible set of experience as a retail executive and enjoys introducing friends to mountain trails through his weekly hiking group and Telluride. And I will tell you, he is always prepared with his 10 essentials and his REI first aid kit. So let's congratulate our 4 trustees. On a personal note, if I would click here, there we go. It's been a ride, you know. This REI changes you. It changes you in a fundamental way. Co-ops change you, and they change you in a fundamental way. To be on a board of a co-op makes you stand tall and show up in different ways. And I was trying to think tonight, well, what's the common denominator of all of that? And the common denominator is the outdoors. The love, the passion of what happens when you get outside. And I would tell you, as honored as I am to be the chair of REI and everything else, I will tell you in its roots, in its fundamentals, I'm still that kid in 1971 who went to the REI store on Capitol Hill for the first time and bought the world's ugliest blue backpack. I still have it. And I went outdoors, and I grew up here in Seattle, but I will tell you that experience of going out, going on a trail, getting dirty with my friends, and just being in nature was profound. And I know each and every one of you has that same experience, right? That's what it's all about. Because it's not just that the outdoors is cool or politically correct, it's that it changes us, and it makes us better. So to have that experience and have a business that is about that experience, about allowing us to show up in great ways in the outdoors, you know, how cool is that? It's a very special place, and a place for us to protect, to challenge, and to help it through its next iterations as it moves forward. You know, when we think about our quadruple bottom line, I guess, we care a lot about our members, about our employees, obviously, about our business, but you saw just earlier, just now, about our society. And if we can be a convener in all of this diatribe and noise, if we can think about a quadruple bottom line where we think about our members, our employees, our business, but ultimately our society, then we have really met the promise of our founders so many years ago. And I think for our board, for our senior team, I think for every single person in this room, let's keep on doing it, because it's just too damn important. Let me just take a pause here, and in a second I'm going to introduce our rock star's new CFO. Her name isn't Rockstar, her name is Tracie Winbigler. And Tracie is recently joined us from National Geographic. But yes, let's hear it for her. But as the board chair, I get to do many wonderful things, but one of the things I get to do is housekeeping. And we are a membership organization, and this is actually an official membership meeting. So we need to approve the minutes at last year's meeting. And at the table check-in, I believe there were those minutes of the meeting, and I'd like to see if there's a motion to approve. And a second. Outstanding. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. I think we have the ayes have it. Thank you all, and let's bring Tracie up to the podium.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to join the co-op as an employee. The co-op grows profitably so we can invest back into and better advocate for the outdoors. 2015 was a year of sustainable growth. We had a record number of employees join the co-op, over 1 million, to bring us to our total of 6 million that Jerry mentioned. That's an encouraging number, as growing our membership is a powerful way we invite people into the outdoor community. We reported record annual revenues of $2.4 billion in 2015, a 9.3% increase from $2.2 billion in 2014. That is with a shift of 52 weeks in 2014 to 53 weeks in 2015. If we would do that comparison, 52 weeks to 52 weeks, that would be nearly 11% growth year over year. Our comparable store sales, which include direct-to-consumer sales, were up 7%, and digital sales up nearly 23%. Given the dynamic state of retail, that's a very healthy number for growth. As Cheryl said, though, it's not just about the financials. In 2015, more than 72% of REI's profits from 2015 went back to members, employees, and our nonprofit partners. That's a big investment in our community, and I'd like to share a few more details of those with you. Members share in the co-op's success through a 10% dividend and our credit card rebates. In 2015, we shared a record $185 million with more than 6 million members through annual dividends and credit card rebates. We give back to our employees as well. Employees received $70 million through our Summit Incentive Plan, in which all employees are eligible, as well as our retirement and our profit sharing plan. These programs are unusual in the retail industry and underline the fact that our employees are the heart of the business and a direct connection to our members and the community. We also invested in more than 1,000 outdoor places. More than $8.5 million went back to these organizations, including large grants for the National Park Centennial and to increase women's leadership in the outdoor industry, both of which are priorities for the co-op. 2015 was a strong year, and our first quarter of 2016 was encouraging as well. We saw strong sales and many people connecting with us in our stores and online. All of this fuels what we're here to do, and I'd like to hand it off to Jerry to talk some about the amazing progress that we've made.